And we're live. We're on episode 12 of Mindful Endeavors. Really quick, the disclaimer that we must say we're not mental health professionals. Keep that in mind that we're just having a conversation around mental health and other topics of the outdoors and anything that can potentially affect mental health. So we do encourage it if you feel the need to seek help, to seek it. And also we also encourage to keep the conversation going. That's the best. That's the one thing that we hope at least you can get from this podcast is to keep the conversation going and not be afraid to talk about issues that may pertain to you or just you see around you. All right. With that being said, welcome back, Garrett. This is episode I think 12. So 10 episodes before you were my second guest, and
Yep.
yeah, it was a pretty good conversation. So
I think so.
yeah, definitely want to have you back, and then now with the better audio and the better technology, it'll definitely do it justice. So
Each
yeah,
episode's getting better.
I mean that's the plan, right? I mean, I don't want to get worse. It's like, oh, now I'm only running on, I don't know, a freaking pager or something. I don't know. All right, so what is it? Maybe what was it? A couple weeks ago, we had the issue where basically Texas froze over, and it kind of brought up a topic that I wanted to go over is basically kind of preparedness for such disasters. I mean, sometimes they're hard to really anticipate and prepare for, but we gotta try to do our best. At the end of the day, we ultimately we have to try to do our best to look out for ourselves, look out for our family and then friends and our community. So, all right. So really quick. So first of all, definitely, I'm not used to the snow. That this was actually my first my first time experiencing snow like this, like at least this natural. And yeah, I mean, I guess I'll start kind of lighthearted, like seeing all the snow. I was like, oh my god, this is so pretty,
Yeah,
you
it's
know.
pretty natural, ain't it?
Yeah, like everything was like really white, and like as soon as this, but I mean, I will say this: as soon as the sun came out, dude, everything was just blinding me, and I was just like, oh my god, I can't see. Um, but the very first thing I was like, you know what? It is 7 degrees outside. And with the wind chill, it's -1. I'm gonna go take a run. So I went running and I was able to do 2 miles pretty comfortably. But and I was just like, oh my god, the adrenaline's like pumping, and I was like, dude, this is awesome. Well, it
I'm
wasn't
sure
so
with
much
it being
awesome,
so,
huh?
I'm sure with it being so cold too, you were able to run longer, so because you weren't overheating and all that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I was just like, you know what? I'm on a roll. This is awesome. I'm down to do it again. And then I stopped running, and then the sweat froze. The sweat in my hair froze, and yeah, it wasn't so much fun anymore. But yeah,
Yeah,
and
I don't gotta worry about that.
well, even then, the sweat, dude, was just freezing on my entire shirt and everything. Oh my god! So I went running back to my apartment and then got changed into like dry clothes, and then I went back outside and started doing snow angels, and that was pretty fun. But
Is your first snow angel?
my first ever snow angel, and I showed it to somebody. I showed the video to someone, and somebody that's from the Midwest, North Midwest, and she was like, "Wow, you really botched that thing," because I was like, I was doing the snow angel, and then my legs were kind of bent in, so I wasn't even sweeping those properly.
So they gave it like a 6 out of 10.
She gave it a 4 out of 10.
Oh, damn! All right,
Mm-hmm.
I was giving you a little bit too much credit.
Yeah, well, it was a very very failed snowman. So I mean, snow angel. So never again. But I did make my first snowman ever, and that was pretty dope. So the unfortunate thing though, now it's kind of getting into the heavy dark stuff. A lot of people weren't having as they weren't having as much fun as I did. So one of the things that I did struggle, obviously, what kind of car I drive. Don't drive a 4x4. So
Yep.
I did my research. I was researching, and it said, okay, like don't think this is normal. Like when you're trying to make a turn, don't do it normally. Ease into it. I completely forgot about that. Like the minute I got in my car, so I backed out, went out, and I'm like, all right, I'm good. And all of a sudden, I do the turn and I spin out, dude. And
Well, I will say with the truck, unless you had the bed weighed down, you would have ran into the same issue.
mm,
the back ends of the trucks spin out. Like even here in California, we get a little bit of rain. If I step on that gas a little too hard, that back end spins out on me. So you got to like weigh that down because you just got that empty bed.
Yeah, and like that's, I mean, I figured, I take it like how, California rain happens because, like the highways are asphalt and that kind of like soaks up like the water and the oil. And then when it rains, the oil comes back out. And yeah,
Yeah,
like,
the first day of rain is always the worst because it brings all the oil up, and then after a while it washes off, but it's still not good.
mm-mm. No, and that's the difference between California and, I mean, I think for the most part, at least all the places that I've been to in Texas, like they've all been concrete roads, which is a little bit better. But I mean, yeah, like I spun out, and luckily, I mean, it was pretty fun. Again, it was only
There's some
fun because,
enjoyment in it.
well, dude, I mean, like I was trying to make the best of the situation, right? Because it was my first snowstorm, and it was fun spinning out like that. The only reason why I say that though is because no damage, and I'm still alive, and there was no cars passing by at the time.
Did you do a full 360 spin out, or
It was like almost a 720.
oh, that's some Fast and the Furious shit?
And I was just like, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, and I didn't hit the brakes or anything. I was just waiting until I was able to kind of like, all right, like I saw like there was idling towards one direction, so I was like, all right, I kept going that way, and I started
Well,
like
you
slowly.
handled it well. Most people slam on the brakes and make it worse.
I mean, that's the first instinct. Like, I mean, because I felt like the instinct do that, but I was able to like be conscious enough to actually stop from doing that. So yeah, so I was able to get control really quickly, and I mean I went the opposite direction of where I was intending to go. So, but it was still pretty fun, and I mean I was very safe at that time, and I drove with my Challenger, but definitely needed a 4x4. But all right, so yeah, so I brought you on because I mean you're kind of one of the people that I think we talked about this the second episode. Like you do tend to do a lot with little, and you're pretty much prepared to almost handle anything really. Uh, and you obviously like through your experiences in the outdoors, all that stuff, you acquired those skills. So definitely brought you on for that as I mean as a quote unquote expert because
Expert.
yeah, expert, yeah. But yeah,
Air
but
quotes for those listening.
yeah, air quotes. There you go. But yeah, like I mean, obviously the first things first. I mean, we gotta try to like stock up on food, right? Like the best we can. Like
Oh yeah.
what kind of food items do you tend to stock up on that make it seem so like it doesn't seem like you're just like force eating, for the sake of just nourishment, but you're actually enjoying some kind of food.
Well, I mean, for that, back when I was more into it, was you could do pickling or jarring. You could do preserves and all that. Things that have a long shelf life. Of course, like something like honey for sugar because honey doesn't expire ever. But mostly, they have quite a few things. Like I saw at Costco, they got like this big old jug thing of I think it's like 60 days of rations for a single person or something, and it has a shelf life of 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
But just things that last long, like jerky lasts pretty long. And then it's how you really hold that in. So like the food saver or jarring it, really just taking the air out so it lasts longer for that.
Yeah.
But those are finite things. So I mean, you short of having an entire bunker just dedicated to preservatives and like 25-year shelf life food, like you're gonna need more skills than that to do it. You're gonna have
Yeah.
to learn to forage and find out what's edible in your area. You have to learn to hunt and fish, uh, filter out water, where to find clean water, how to find water, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. And I mean, I mean, I know some people that, have farmland. And one of the things I recommend is just to kind of get some kind of water containment like
Mhm.
vessels and then figure out how to filter it. Because even like in this, like if it was snowing a lot, like certain places got like close to like a feet or two of snow, which is kind of unheard of for most places in Texas.
Yeah,
Um,
Texas definitely. other places like New England or the Midwest, or even, I guess, the North Midwest, Ohio area, I guess, like that's just the norm for them. That's a light day.
Yeah, and like a lot of the infrastructure in those places is suited for colder temperatures. Like I know in Texas, some of the reactors that we have actually shut down because of the sensor read that it was too cold and it shut them down gracefully. So that's the reason why like it contributed to loss of power.
Did
Um,
they say how cold the average was? Because it's still going on right now, right? I haven't been following it too much.
no, actually, it's. I mean, well, there was a bit of a cold front last week. Um, right now, it's pretty warm. It's warm during the day, and it's still a little chilly at night. Today was like 72, the highest. So,
All right, so California weather almost,
yeah,
just with
it's
snow.
well, California weather, but still a little bit of humidity, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
um, so yeah, so the, I mean, yeah, back to what we were talking about. So we did lose energy for that, and again, it goes back to the infrastructure. So that's why Texas wasn't really built to really handle that because most of that stuff. I mean, we have attributed the cold, but not factored in like a -1 degree wind chill.
Yeah, because
So
that's out of the norm. That's an edge case, as they would say in my industry.
yeah, exactly. So it's really tough to really anticipate that, right? But back to how I said in the intro, we do need to kind of do our best so we don't depend from outside help because we never know if the outside help is going to be able to make it to us or not. It's not because we're telling somebody like suck it up or anything like that. No, it's not. It has nothing to do with that. It has more to do with like just having the ability of being self-reliant. And if you are in a community that where everybody can help each other out, that definitely helps tremendously. Like me and my neighbors, I when I was able to actually make it out to go to the grocery store, I was able to bring them back some food, and they actually like went out and like forage for firewood, so we had firewood available, and that's something that I definitely do recommend people having at all times throughout the year. It sucks like because if you have like very limited storage, like how you would do in maybe like suburban areas or even urban areas, it
Yeah.
does suck. I got lucky too that I had a couple pieces of well, actually a few pieces of furniture that I was actually getting ready to throw out. So if need be,
You hobo fired it up.
no, I was ready for it. I was ready to hobo fire it. Because I do have a fireplace, so I was able to put. I would be able to put it there. The thing is that the power went out only for a short amount of time. In my case, the only thing that really did go out was the water. But yeah, so like we were saying, like if you're able to at least have a bucket, like some kind of giant, like kind of like trash can bucket looking thing, to be able to collect some kind of rainwater or snow. That's
Yeah.
something to always have in handy, just because you never know when you might just need it for whatever reason. Like just and then if you filter it out, I think they do carry. Uh, I mean, they do sell like some kind of like tablets that kind of filter the entire water and make it drinkable.
Yeah, they got tablets. You can get, Brita filters and just pour it in. It's a little bit slow. You can even make your own filters just by things that you have around. Like I remember you do like bottom layers like charcoal, then you do a fine sand, then you do rocks, then another layer of fine sand, then another layer of rocks, and that that usually filters it out pretty well. I know there's a bunch of different methods of filtering out with things that you have available, but yeah, there's natural filters, there's just charcoal filters, and then even then you can boil quite a bit of the bacteria away. You'll probably get some type of like sediment or other things that just don't burn, but at least you won't be like dying of dysentery.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's something that I do want to research how to basically build filters. And then I mean that kind of brings up to the point where like you need to like if it's possible to have like some lighter, some kind of starting like fluid, some kind of things like that, so you
When
can start a fire.
you need that, dude, you just need two sticks.
I mean,
Takes a
hey,
little,
I'm just
takes a little bit longer, but you just
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, if you know how to like start a fire just from sticks, I mean, yeah, but it wouldn't hurt to have something to make it easier, or like
Oh
what is
yeah,
that little
and
fire?
yeah, they make a lot of little fire starter things that you can like just throw in a bug out bag or just have lying around. Even just having waterproof matches just in case, but that's like a finite source. Um, a lot of the quick fire stuff is finite.
Hmm.
Even just the flint, even that's finite. Eventually, you're gonna wear it out. It lasts a hell of a lot longer than matches and all that. But finding out and practicing ways to start things with or start fires with things that you have just around you is ultimately the best practice because you're gonna run out of fire starting with the stuff that you can buy from stores.
So you bring up a good point with the bug out bag, because I think I mean, me personally, that's why I kind of brought you on. Like, I think that some of the techniques that you can use, like just surviving in the wilderness, can be used like even in urban and suburban areas. Like, for example, for like during the snow, during the time where there's a massive blackout. In your case, when there's fires and such, and like out in California, they struggle. I mean, with fires and everything. Just for whatever reason, you need to survive with nothing, right? With no power and water. I mean, what would you put like in your ideal like bug out bag or your survival like bag for the outdoors?
So in my bug out bag, it's really the bare essentials. I got I got a sleeping bag that goes to -40. Um, I got a little single person tent. I got a basic first aid kit that even with the basic first aid kits, you have to replenish things as you go because the adhesive eventually goes away. But I mean, as long as you have like wrapping and stuff like that, you're generally pretty good to go. Um, a small little stove and a small little propane tank for that. Flint starter, waterproof matches. I got some water purifying tablets and one of those life saving straws. I got one of those in there. Uh, a field survival guide for specifically my area because not every area is going to be the same. So depending on where you're at, you're going to want to find something that shows you what you can eat, how to identify what you can eat, and like a bunch of different survival techniques. It's good to have. I mean, books are great for that. Uh, what else I got? I got a couple lighters, that you have to replenish eventually because those don't really work if they've just been sitting for too long. Flashlights, one of the self-cranking ones, so you can generate those for when the battery dies. I got a few other things in there, but most of it's just relying on the skills that you learn to work with not having anything.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I have seen that they sell like portable like solar panels that you can just kind of like they fold out kind of like a tablet and like it's I think those are perfect to like charge your phone.
Oh
Obviously, if
yeah,
everybody's trying to call like at the same time, the cell towers will be a little uh, overwhelmed, and that did happen, I think here. Um, so I mean, but I think those are would be great to have in a bug out bag, or even just if you're going to go camping, right? Like it'd
hmm
be nice to at least have that, so you can have some kind of form of like a flashlight or whatever. You can charge
yeah.
that.
I mean, if you're going that route with having that, to go even further, I would say to get one of the satellite phones type
Hmm.
deals because in the worst case scenario, of course, like the cell tower is going to go down, power is going to go down, and all that. So like you can at least rely on the satellite and GPS for that portion of it. And I think that would probably be better in
Hmm.
terms of that. But I mean, if you got both, have a solar panel. I mean, you're gonna have to have a solar panel to charge the satellite phone anyways. But
Yeah, because I mean, generators are expensive. I think the portable solar panel is not that much cheaper, but it's still significantly cheaper compared to a generator.
well, especially because one, you don't want to be lugging a generator around, and then for the generator, you have to have gasoline to be able to, or gasoline or diesel to be able to power it. And what are you going to be doing? Lugging around 10 gallons of gasoline and then or diesel and hope to come across some place where you can refuel. From my understanding, even the fuel pumps require electricity to pump. So unless you're siphoning it from people's gas tanks, like you're gonna have the finite thing. At least until the great boom and the sun finally explodes and the universe as we know it is over, we have that infinite power source of the sun.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, there lies one difference between like outdoors prep versus like urban suburban prep for like maybe natural disasters, depending on which one we're talking about. Because a generator would be handy to have somewhere. I mean, they do sell some small ones, and they range in sizes, right? And depending on like how much square footage you need to cover. So I mean, having a generator on hand in like a home, will definitely be a little bit more practical versus being able to carry one outdoors.
It definitely works more urban, and I would pair it up with the vehicle that you drive. So if you have a diesel vehicle and that's your main thing, like get a diesel generator. If you're running gasoline, then get a gasoline generator, because at the very least, you'll be able to siphon the fuel source from the vehicles that you already have, and then having those, gas tanks full of it towards the end of its lifespan, you're able to dump it into your vehicle, use it, and then get fresh stuff.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, because I mean, it's something that I definitely didn't even consider thinking, and I'm pretty sure several others might not even consider the same thing. Because I mean, it's all about how many uses you can get out of something, right? Like, it's like what is it? I mean, you try to like kind of like get items that kind of like all interact with each other so you can get multiple uses and stuff. So I think that's definitely something that we also should consider when it comes to like making like a little preparedness kit or something.
Yeah. So for the bug out bag, essentially you're planning for not having the vehicle, you're not having any of these convenience things that make surviving easier. So you got to think about what tools you're going to prep that have multiple uses, that have a longer lifespan, if not infinite, and just you got to work with that. And when you're carrying it all on your back, you got to add the weight to it. So if you're walking around with 200 pounds on your back, that's going to weigh you down, and it's going to like burn unnecessary calories. So you really need to like cut it down to the bare essentials, and finding things that overlap in uses is going to help a lot with that.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. It's like, I think something as simple as having a can opener. I did talk to some people that didn't even have that.
Yeah, I did hear about an issue at Texas. Now, it's the media. I'm not there. I don't know, and they sensationalize everything. But there was something about people not even having manual can openers to do their to open up their cans, because everyone uses the electric. So having them, honestly, Swiss Army knife. Like, that's one of the things that keep them a bug out bag is a Swiss Army knife. I mean, that's food picking it, bro.
No, dude. Like, honestly, like, I mean, I'm not sure how it was. I didn't see the media. I mean, it's been a while since I really see the news, but
that's probably
at least mainstream. Yeah, definitely for the best. But so I did talk to a few people, and I was like, oh, because they're like, some people are like, oh, well, all I'm eating is cookies and chips right now. I'm like, you don't have like a can of tuna or something, And they're like, yeah, I have can of tuna, but I have no can opener. I'm like, I mean, me personally, I try not to judge, because I mean, I'm a very, at least the way I'm carrying myself now, I'm a very kind of more of a manual type of person, more of an analog type of person versus digital kind of person, and that's just kind of more of a metaphor example. But
as we're sitting here on digital,
yeah, as we're using technology to communicate and record this podcast, I know it's very ironic, but I mean, I bite the bullet, and even then, I work in IT, right? So it's like I work in IT, and I hate technology because I know that technology tends to die randomly.
Oh, so, yeah. I mean, the lifespan of the general technology is like, what, a year or two, depending on what's happening.
Yeah.
We get phone upgrades every goddamn year.
Well, even cars, like, that's the reason why I'm like I want to go with an older car, like, because the fact that Yeah, like the fact like I have to take in my freaking car for a software update.
Oh god, like I want a Tesla. They're cool, but the
Mm.
fact that I got to get software updates and all that, like in any other scenario other than the current point that we're living in, a Tesla or any other electric vehicle doesn't make sense.
And that's the thing. I'm not even driving a Tesla, dude. And
Oh yeah,
so
I
like
want one. I'm not driving one.
yeah, same here, dude. I personally don't think it'd be a good bug out vehicle. Like
Oh hell
what's up?
no! You want
No,
dude, you want a perfect bug out vehicle? You get an enduro. That's on road. That's off road, dude. You're golden. You're getting like 65 to the gallon. That thing's sipping fuel. You can go down the freeways. You can go up a mountain if you choose to. And then the only thing you're going to run into is like how much you can carry. But if you're in a bug out situation, how much do you have to carry?
well, dude, what's that dude? Tim Pool, great guy, right? Like he,
Shout out.
yeah, shout out to Tim Pool. But that dude has a bug out van that's rigged with like solar panels and very efficient ones too. And like, just
Yeah.
dude, yeah,
Yeah,
like
I
you
mean that would really be the only way I could see an electric vehicle being any type of what's the word I'm looking for?
survival ready.
Yeah, survival ready is if it can run purely off of the solar power that it can generate during the daylight hours.
Hmm.
And no matter what, that's going to limit you to a certain point. So, I mean, unless you're only traveling at night and letting your car charge during the day, I'm assuming I'm not an expert in it. I don't know anything about that,
Yeah.
but that's the only way I can think that it works. So at the end of the day, I think we'll still rely on a fossil fuel vehicle during that situation. And then eventually that will run out. In the worst case scenario, you can only siphon so many cars. And once the production of fossil fuels ends, it's already a finite source.
Hmm.
And then once production ends, it's even lower.
Right.
So eventually you're just gonna end up walking. So ultimately the best bug out vehicle is a bicycle. Mountain bike, probably more than anything.
Yeah, it's. I mean, theoretically, yes, you're right.
Yeah, theoretically. Worst case scenario. That's what I never understood about The Walking Dead. Nobody rode bikes.
I mean, The Walking Dead. I mean,
Not
I
exactly
mean,
the best example of like survival, but you know, like they're shooting guns with no sights on them.
shooting guns with no sights on them. I'm gonna take a shot at them. Like, so taking shooting guns with no guns on them. And I think in season 4, they had a Kia was Sorrento, a
Ad placement.
2014 Kia Sorrento or whatever that year was. It was I'm like,
Oh, I love it though.
The
Like
Walking Dead, dude.
it's a good show. I mean, in my opinion, it's a good show up to a certain point. I read the comics, great comic, loved it. The show started to taper off eventually,
But at
but do
that point,
not
come
use
on.
it as a survival. Like, you take the zombies out of it. Do not use it as a survival guide whatsoever.
I mean, come on, dude. Like a freaking Kia, a brand new Kia, dude.
Hey,
Like,
bro, Kia, that's gonna get us through the zombie apocalypse, bro.
oh my god, it
You,
definitely
you
is,
don't even know. You don't even know.
dude. Honestly, hold on, something just turned on. Give me a second. Okay, that was weird. My TV just turned on
Yeah.
randomly.
I will say, with your hair, I just realized that you're actually wearing
Oh,
headphones.
yeah. I'm definitely. The hair is definitely grown, and
Yeah, looking good, dude. Wish I could grow it out like that, man.
dude, the other day somebody thought I had a mullet.
Bringing it back.
Yeah,
Bringing it back.
yeah, because so I have my sideburns kind of trimmed, right? So when you look at that, it kind of does look a little bit
Dude,
like a
that's the
mullet.
thing. You got to grow out those sideburns. Keep that hair long. Grow out the sideburns. You be rocking it.
Mhm. But yeah, dude, like so. Yeah. So okay, Walking Dead definitely not a perfect example of preparedness.
No, I mean, if you're
Uh,
gonna watch, in my opinion, if you're gonna watch any show to get any type of survival information, Survivor Man, like that dude knows what's up. Bear
yeah.
Grylls, fun to watch. You can pick little things from it, but ultimately his show is scripted, and like that's not to knock him. Dude's got military training. The dude knows how to survive, and he knows how to make a TV show.
Right.
But that's what it is. It's a TV show. You got Survivor Man dropped out in the middle of nowhere for 7 days by himself, and this dude's lugging around cameras. He's walking up a hill to set up a camera so that he could walk down the hill so that he get a shot of him walking up the hill. And he's doing this all by himself, no camera crew, no nothing. He basically shows up with like a knife and handles his business. And he either makes it or he doesn't. He's honest about it.
Yeah. But
That's
like you
not an
said, like,
endorsement. It's a good show though. Check it out.
but yeah, but like, that's the reality of things, right? It kind of goes back to like what we were talking about, and I've talked about with several other guests, where like we think that nature is a certain way because TV told us.
Yeah,
Um,
Hollywood I think has ruined a lot of uh, mm, changed the perception of reality on a lot of things.
yeah, specifically nature for sure. I mean,
Oh yeah.
not specifically, but including nature, because we see like, I mean, I talked to somebody that kind of works in conservation, and like he was telling me about like all these stories of people trying to pet wild animals because they thought that they'd be all cuddly, whatever, and it's like, no, the animal's about to rip your face off.
But Disney, bro. I want to be a Disney princess. I want to pet all the animals.
Yeah, I know Disney kind of ruined that a
No,
lot.
but
So
dude, like deer. People think deer are like this nice little animal that you can walk up in like certain areas where the deer have acclimated to humanity. Yeah, it's still dangerous, but you can do it. But it's not recommended. But if you're just wandering through the forest or you see like a deer will fuck you up. Like I remember hearing a story like a guy actually died hunting a deer. Like he shot it, didn't make sure it was dead, and approached it, and he got gored to death.
hmm yep,
You know, like nature is nature. Like it's kill or be killed, and
yeah,
regardless of how cute the animal is, I mean, you'll probably be hard pressed to be killed by a single squirrel, maybe an army of squirrels, but, but like you could potentially be killed by like 100 squirrels.
you could, yeah, technically speaking, like
And
I think
honestly, I think that would probably be more terrifying than taking on a single deer.
you know what, so not to get off too much on a tangent, but so apparently in New York City, rats and squirrels are like ganging up against humans.
Oh, as they
Like,
should.
yeah, because there's so again, not to go off too much on a tangent, but like because of how bad things are, there's not a lot of like food scraps falling on the floor, so they don't have any food source. So now they're attacking
Yeah.
humans. So and like apparently there's literally armies of squirrels
Oh yeah.
wrecking things.
Well, I mean, once again, not to get too off on a tangent, but squirrels are cannibalistic. If they'll eat their
Yeah,
own people, they will eat a person. They do not
yeah.
care. Squirrels are terrifying.
Oh yeah, dude. And like it's like again, it looks really cuddly, and it's
Oh,
has
they're
a little.
adorable.
They are adorable, right? Like they have big eyes, and they're like, and like there's that one picture where apparently like it lands from a tree and it lands like Superman.
Oh yeah, I love that picture. I love it so much.
Yeah,
But you got
but
to remember, that motherfucker will eat his own family.
yeah, 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 exactly. That guy will straight up eat his own family, and then it's like
Yeah.
then you know,
Yeah, let alone get an army of his 100 friends to fucking take on a human, dude. Like, I don't want to fuck with that.
imagine being a New Yorker being chased by squirrels, dude. How scary that might be.
Oh, dude, that's terrible being a New
Yeah.
Yorker. No offense to New Yorkers out there.
Oh man, you're terrible. Anyway, so back to what we were talking about. So yeah, so like we were talking about like like not having a can opener, right? A manual can opener.
Yeah.
So that's something definitely I do I personally recommend, because I mean, and me personally, I'd only use the mechanical can openers. I don't even use the electric can openers anymore.
Oh yeah, and I would even go as far to like actually now that I think about, I do have one of those like little cheap ones, but even having just as simple as the Swiss Army knife one, where you're literally just doing that the entire way. Even that's better because you got to remember the more parts you have, the more points of failure.
Yep.
And like even with the Swiss Army knife one, you could eventually wear it down, but unless you're going through like 100 cans a day for like a long time, I don't think you're gonna break through that metal.
Yeah, and like there's even techniques of how to open up a can off the sidewalk, and even then, like I think Costco does sell like the tuna cans that have the lid, the easy lid
The full
open.
caps,
Yeah.
yeah. I think
So we
that
got,
I think a lot of cans are starting to come with that for this exact reason.
yeah.
And I both I mean I haven't looked into it at all. I don't know if it'll hold or have at least the same shelf life as the cans that are completely sealed because you gotta thin out the metal a lot more so that you're able to like puncture it and pull it. But that's something for me to look into. But at the end of the day, like I'm prepared one way or
Yeah,
the other.
I think those cans have a shelf life of 1 year versus a completely sealed one might have two, I think.
Yeah.
I know it's not that much longer, but I don't know exactly how much.
Well, in the grand scheme of things, if you're out there surviving on your own with none of the amenities that make this life comfortable right now, an extra year goes a long way.
An extra month goes a long way.
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah, I mean, the good thing is that we have like I know you can go to like an outdoor shop and or even online and you can buy like those MREs, like the surplus MREs, like I mean
Yeah.
they're not pleasant to eat, but in case
Oh no. Well, and there's even the side effects of the MREs from what I've talked to with people. Like they're not designed to sustain you. Like you get everything that you need when you're in a situation where there's nothing else possible. Like from my understanding, it backs you up. There's a whole lot of other things. Like they're not made for you to survive off MREs. They are in the field emergency ration because you're out there fighting. You don't have the cantina. You don't have fresh food. Like you're just eating something to get the calories in, and it stops you from doing your normal bodily functions. So
yeah.
like they're emergency situations, yeah, but I don't think stocking up on MREs is probably the best situation. But
Well, I mean,
again, I'm not
there's
an
MRE,
expert.
but yeah, but there's MREs and then there's also there's other like kind of freeze dried food
Oh yeah,
that is a little
yeah,
bit more like in terms of nourishment. Like at least
yeah.
it tries that. Ultimately, you're still not going to get all your vitamins and minerals that you would need for optimal like health because
No, no.
I mean there's stuff that's water soluble that when you dry it out, like those vitamins go out the door.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, yeah,
I guess one point of reference, if people want to look into it, is people who do the long distance backpacking. They'll do things like dehydrated soup and dried goods and all that because they'll be hiking. So like here in California, we have the Pacific Coast Trail that goes from the Mexican border all the way up to the Canadian border. And what people like to do is they'll dehydrate soup and dehydrate meat and a whole bunch of other things like fruit and all that, so that all it is just added water, and now you have soup and you're good to go.
hmm I mean, yeah, no, that's actually a good reference. I would even like just kind of like look at like even on YouTube or whatever streaming service,
Mm-hmm.
like kind of just look at different techniques of how to open up a can, how to start a fire, how to
Yeah,
recycle, how to not recycle water, how to filter water
with the
and
water.
things like that. Yeah,
But
because I mean,
oh, go ahead.
well, I was just gonna say because it goes back to like we and it's not to knock on anybody's lifestyle or anything like that, but we now live very comfortably and we live in a very convenienced form. I mean, we have smart houses now that can just turn off everything and anything for us, like just with just a
Yeah,
voice command. So, I mean, we really like we can embrace those things, but at the same time, just be like, well, I'm mentally prepared for whenever I don't have these things.
embrace it if you want to. Personally, I will never embrace the whole smart home thing.
You will.
But if that's your lifestyle, cool. That's on you. but be prepared to not have that. Because
Yeah.
ultimately, the only reason why we have that is because of society that we currently live in. We're in a point in the first world specifically where we can have that, and we have these extra amenities and these luxuries, really, to be able to do that. But you need to be able to know how to survive without it, and I do feel like that's an art that's being lost.
I agree. I agree almost 100%. There's very that's kind of the reason why I really wanted to do this podcast episode with you, because you and I both kind of grew up with very little, you know, and we ended up making our way to where we're at now. And I want to say that we're in a lot better position than we were back then.
Oh yeah.
Um, so need be, like, honestly, like what happened to me and during the snowstorm, like the fact that I didn't have water, I was just kind of boiling water, and then also at the same time collecting snow, melting that down, and to flush the
Yeah.
toilet, I went to the community pool and got a 5-gallon jug, scooped
Oh,
it up, and
okay.
then just
All right.
yeah.
I'm glad it went there because I thought you were just going in the community pool.
No, 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 no. Like I took so you know how, like, you and I both like use the Traeger a lot, so
Oh yeah.
um yeah,
Shout
so
out.
yeah, like where I put the pellets, like to make sure they don't get much humidity. So I had one bucket that was empty, and I used that bucket and took it over there, filled it all the way up. Almost died bringing it back because the snow was getting a little icy because people were stepping on whatever. But
Mhm.
I used that to flush the toilet. So
There you go.
you know,
There you go.
yeah. So I wasn't really too scared, and like, again, because I mean we've had very tough experiences growing up, so it wasn't like PTSD where I kind of had to remember all that, but at the same time, it's like,
But that survival instinct kicked in.
and then I knew that it was going to be temporary too.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the reason why I really wanted to do this episode, because it's like one of those things where, like, if the people that are listening and watching, it's something to keep in mind that um, within the blink of an eye, we can lose a lot of our commodities, a lot of our conveniences that we do use
Oh,
daily
yeah.
to day, and we might think we need them, but I mean, we can take a little bit more preparedness and maybe even survive. I mean, it's all for the short term, right? Like, we're not talking like apocalyptic or anything like that, but like in the case, like, for
I don't know.
example, Texas, where it was a 1 week of tough times,
Well, I think what I've told you before, and it's kind of just my motto in general in life, is hope for the best, plan for the worst.
Yeah.
Because you don't know how long the worst is going to last. But as long as you have the skills, the know-how to tough through it and survive through it, like you'll be golden.
hmm Yeah, because I mean, um, we're not necessarily saying like, oh yeah, look, we can survive better than you. Like, no, 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 no.
Yeah,
That's
no.
yeah, it's nothing like that, because
Yeah, because
um,
dude, like there's so many more people who know so much more than me, can out survive me any day of the week. And
hmm
like and even me, like I only know so much. Like and a lot of that comes from like I grew up in the Boy Scouts and Cub Scouts, and just being like my family being more outdoorsy and doing that. Like I was graced with that opportunity to be able to learn those skills that
hmm
aren't necessarily common anymore. So
hmm
like even with you, like when we're talking, like I'm more than willing to talk about what I know and learn more with someone who wants to actually learn more to be able to do that, because like we're humans.
hmm
We're tribal in nature, so we work better in a group. So if you have people like-minded who want to survive and want to learn those skills, like everybody's gonna come out better for it.
yeah. I mean, again, going back to just trying to be more self-reliant. I mean, it's nice to be in a community. Like, honestly, like, if you are very fortunate to be in a community that that helps each other out, definitely utilize that as your support source, and obviously contribute to your community, and then they'll back you up whenever you need it. And I did see a lot of that in Texas when we were going through the snowstorms and everything. So that
I
was
will say
very.
that that's good to hear on my end, because, like I said, media is making it seem like everybody's freaking out, nobody knows what to do. But from firsthand At least the people that were in your area were more community driven.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, a lot of people that I talk to, strangers and friends, like more than happy, like, hey, I have power. If you need to charge your phone, come over here. Hey, I have water. If you need, at least take the shower in the dark, even though it's going to be in the dark, come over here. Or hey, I have both power and water. Just come over, whatever. Do your thing. The only thing that made it a little bit more difficult for me was not having the 4x4 capabilities. But other than that, like I did, yeah, I
Yeah, but
did
you
see.
get that power, bro.
I got the Hemi. But but the thing is, like, it's good to have that community. Like, honestly, I think that's one thing. That's one. Mm, I don't know if you can call it a tool, but it's definitely underrated.
Yeah, calling it a tool makes it seem like you're using people.
One-sided, yeah.
Yeah, very one-sided, but it's definitely an aid for people because like I said earlier, like we're tribal in nature. Uh,
Hmm.
it is 100% in everybody's best interest to be able to handle as much as they can by themselves, self-sufficient.
Hmm.
But if you want to thrive, it's going to take more than yourself. And I
Yeah,
guess that's really the difference between the two, like survival and thriving. Survival you can do by yourself. Thriving you do as a community.
yeah, very well said for sure. Because even when there was a hurricane that hit South Texas, uh, you didn't really see it a whole lot in the media. You saw people helping each other out. Like, you saw people, like, the craziest of people that you would think, oh, these guys are just total rednecks. And like, no, they used their trucks, they hauled ass all the way down there, provide supplies, pulled out people's cars, pulled out people. And that's what I do like about Texas. There is a lot of that.
Yeah.
Not to say that there isn't any of that in any other state, but
I don't
I
know.
definitely.
There's plenty of people doing it, but I mean, in my personal opinion, it seems to happen more in non-metropolitan areas.
Yeah, it's kind of sad to say.
It
I
really
mean,
is because it's something about the city and the big city life that seems to there's like that disconnect between the love for your brother or sister.
mm,
Like it's just everybody's out for themselves, seemingly.
yeah, I
Of
mean,
course, that's a generalization because even within the cities, like you'll find people who are volunteering to help and just helping their neighbors, but it seems to be that's more the minority when you have millions of people in one central area versus a lot of these rural areas where people actually get to know their neighbors and
mhm.
understand them, where they're helping.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I think it has to do with density, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, you're more likely to be able to get to know somebody when you're in a smaller area versus like a bunch of area where there's a bunch of people where it's like, oh, you kind of just like subconsciously think, oh, they're a dime a dozen, doesn't really matter, like, like,
yeah.
or
It'll
whatever.
be somebody else's problem. I mean, I think they call it something like
There is some kind of paradigm. I forgot what it's called.
stand buyers syndrome or something like
Yeah,
that,
yeah, like they were
where
saying, they made that point where like if you were in a crowded movie theater and somebody was choking, nobody would help them, even though there's so many other people. Versus like if
yeah,
there was like three people in that room with somebody choking, somebody's gonna help them because there's less people. And I'm like, all right,
because you look around and you're like, okay, let's say there's 100 people in the movie theater. You look around like, okay, somebody in here is going to be able to take care of this problem, but then nobody does anything because everybody's thinking the same thing.
mm-hmm.
But there's only three of them. It's like, okay, like somebody's got to do something, and these two other people aren't going to do anything. It's got to be me.
Yeah, yeah. Basically, it's like, oh well, if those two don't do anything, then this guy's dead. So might as well just be me or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which actually goes back to the whole survival thing. Take a medical course, basic first
Ooh.
aid, survival, trauma. Like you may never use it ever, but at least you know how.
Mm-hmm. At least practice it too. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, all these things. So the whole thing, the whole I guess topic because ultimately this is, an outdoors and mental health podcast, and a little bit more emphasis on the mental health, but the whole thing ties into that. Like, if you stress out from a situation, there's going to be a whole lot of problems, and it's just deterioration of your mental health,
Yeah.
to say the least. And on top of that, I mean, we know that stress contributes to health issues, so there's a lot of different things that can go along with it. So, I mean, this is kind of something to start with at the very least. It's kind of hard to really prepare for everything, and we're not necessarily trying to. I mean, you and I both agree that we're not necessarily trying to spread fear or anything, because that's counterintuitive.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and
But
well, yeah.
oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, um, like in a natural disaster, if it's a week, you never know if it's a week, 3 days, 30 days. It's
Yep.
best to be prepared as much as best you can. And I know that for different income levels, it's harder, right? But just like do your best to slowly build up certain things.
Yeah.
But the good thing is, at the very least, canned food is cheap for the most part. But
Yeah.
again, we're not the goal of all that, like canned food and all that stuff. Because I know, we've seen like studies of like eating so much canned food and blah 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 and this and that. But the goal is not necessarily, to make sure that you're optimal health. I mean, I'm pretty sure your body can survive off canned food for a month.
The
You know,
goal is to make it to the next day. When
yes.
you're in that situation, like that extreme of a situation, it's the next day, the next day,
Mm-hmm.
and even some extreme dire situations, it's the next hour, the next 30 minutes. Like
Mm-hmm.
you got to have those skills, and like regardless of your financial point or like where you're at financially, like we have the internet right now. Like the world hasn't fallen to shit. You can still go on the internet. You can still learn the skills that you need to learn. You, it's all there. It's all for free, and you can just Google it. And at the end of the day, those skills are what's gonna keep you living in that
Yeah.
situation. And potentially keep somebody else living. Now, I'm not saying like, oh, Google or go on YouTube and look on how to give the Heimlich maneuver,
Yeah.
or how to do a tracheotomy if you need to do it. Like in those situations, like save up money, go to a class, and have a professional teach you how to do that.
Yeah.
But like the basic survival, like I said earlier, go to your local wildlife fish and game, or look up uh, like a manual for the area that you're in for edible food and how to forage and practice those skills. That doesn't really cost money. There are a lot of skills that you can learn that regardless of your financial situation, you can go out and practice and internalize those skills. Now, yeah, when it comes to a point of I'm going to build up my bug out bag, there's certain things you need financial stability for. But if you know how to make a water filter from rocks and sand and charcoal, no amount of money is going to help you with that. That's just so much as learning and practicing that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it really, really, ultimately, I mean, what I'm trying to, I guess you could say preach more or less, but I mean, what I'm trying to kind of like drive home is that if you're better prepared, the more better prepared, the more likely you will be calm in those type of situations. And if you're more in a calm state of mind, you're able to make better decisions, and you're able to,
Oh, yeah.
if you have a family, you're able to keep the family closer together, and bring them peace and talk them into be like, hey, it's going to be okay. We have the means to survive this many days. Where we have a plan. If things go awry, we have a neighbor that we can go to, so at least we won't be completely out of resources and everything. And or vice versa. Like, hey, you know what? Like, we have the resources to be like, okay, let's help somebody else. And we have enough to cover ourselves for 30 days, and we still have plenty more to help somebody else cover. Or just and like with the community itself, I mean, we all help each other out. We definitely can get through a lot of stuff, through
Like I
because
said earlier, survival is singular, thriving is multiple.
yeah, I mean, and it's one of those things where that's kind of why, you know that's kind of why I'm like a little disappointed that we have this whole thing with the pandemic and everything, because it really is kind of forcing us. It's not. I mean, the word selfish isn't bad in certain cases. It's not 100% bad. Like there's times where you need to be selfish. Take care of yourself, take care of your health, because you can't
Oh, yeah.
help anybody else if you don't take care of yourself.
Yep.
But like the whole thing with the pandemic and everything, which is very upsetting, is because it's deteriorating mental health, and to some degree, we've seen how the media kind of pin neighbors against each other and even family members against each other, like and it's like that's not good in case we need to get through something together. Like if another snowstorm comes into Texas or another fire comes into California, like we need to kind of just stick together as best we can, and we do need to be mentally healthy in order to do that. I honestly believe so.
Oh yeah. And I do feel like, I mean, some people are built for it, some people aren't. But with certain skills and soft skills and hard skills as well, like the more you practice it, the less that stress is going to affect you. So when it does come time to enact those skills that you've learned, you'd be more acclimated to the stress of it.
Yes, that is true. And that's really the reason why. Yeah, I mean, it just like the more I'm going through this podcast, the more I'm realizing that a lot of things play into mental health, and then everything, including mental health, plays into overall health. Like it's not like I honestly don't think one area of health is better than the other. I mean,
Oh
it
no.
is, yeah, and it is tough to really focus on all of them at once, but we, got to do our best to get them all up to par and up to good
Nope.
quality. Because, I mean, financial health contributes to physical and, physical health, emotional health, even mental health. Mental health contributes to financial health, physical health, well-being, a lot
But
of things like,
it's all steps though.
mm-hmm,
Like you can't take it all at once. You gotta look at your situation, figure out your priorities of it, and list them in order. Figure out which one that you're going to work on first. But working on this one's going to lead into this one's going to lead into this one. You can't just take it all onto one plate and try to solve everything.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, granted, there's people that are just built differently mentally.
Oh yeah.
Some people have more tolerance. Yeah, some people have more tolerance for one thing versus another thing that another
I mean,
person might
that
have
just boils
tolerance for.
down to know your strengths, because
Hmm.
everybody's got a strength. It doesn't matter who you are. There is a strength in everybody. You got to figure that one out. You got to play to it,
Hmm.
and then use your strengths to bring up your, I don't want to call them weaknesses, but to bring up your lesser or your not as developed skills, I guess.
Yeah, no, yeah. And that's kind of what goes back to community, right? Like we can all contribute in some shape or form.
Oh yeah.
Um,
There's always someone who knows more than you, can do more than you, and the only thing you can do is learn from them, really.
yeah,
Because the more
yeah. I
you
mean,
learn, the stronger you get, and the stronger you get, the more you can teach somebody else.
yeah, yeah. And then even if you learn from somebody else, like I didn't learn how to fish, or I mean, I still don't. I know the concepts of hunting, but I still haven't been hunting, and
Get your license.
I will. But I didn't learn that from my parents. You did, and I learned all that. And I mean, it's a significant amount of that stuff, and you definitely inspired me to keep learning more stuff. And now I can pass that on if I ever have kids, or if I want to do a big brother mentorship or something like that. Now I know I can pass that on. Now I know
See,
I
and
can
I will
teach other
say, like,
people.
it makes me so happy to see, like, where when I first met you to where you are now, like seeing a lot of the skills that like I was brought up with and learned from my childhood, and seeing you grow into all this, and then even like what you just said, like pass that on to your children, like that makes me happy to see,
Yeah.
because like I said, it feels like a, a lot of the skills and things that I was grown up with and taught, it's falling to the wayside. And these
Mm-hmm.
and these are like bare minimum survival skills.
Yeah.
And I do fear that society is going to get to a point where we become too reliant on the comfortabilities of being first world. And if it ever gets to the point where we don't have this structure anymore, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Like the minority, it seems, of our society don't know these skills and won't survive, and they'll just get to a point of having to rely on others rather than themselves. And you only rely on yourself, and you seek to thrive and benefit and grow together as a community rather than come in and have the community care for you.
Yeah, and like to add to what you're saying, like I mean, just the our generation and the generation after us. I mean, it's sad to say, but a lot of them don't even know where the food comes from, how the food gets placed in the grocery store.
Oh, dude.
Like, and like, you know, if you don't understand that, you won't be better adapted to be able to actually, or even know, like, oh wait, I can have chickens in my backyard, or like, stuff like
Yeah.
that. You know?
See, that's actually a big thing for me is like I've told you, like when it comes to my personal philosophy of eating meat, if you're gonna eat meat, whether you buy it from the store or you hunt it or someone gives it to you, you need to know where it comes from, what it took to get that, and you need to appreciate it. You do not waste it. You do not do like you use as much as you possibly can of it. And you have so many people that just don't even understand where their food comes from
Mm-hmm.
and the life that had to be given for you to go to the store and buy a pack of pork chops just for
Yeah,
you to be like, I don't like this, and I throw it away.
yeah. You know what's even more sad? Like there's several people that I've ran into that will kind of like shit on hunters because like why are you gonna kill an animal? But then they eat meat. It's like, and
Yeah,
not even like the best like sourced animal. Like it's a tortured animal. It's like you're probably doing worse than like a hunter would stalking an animal in its natural habitat and trying to eat clean meat.
I mean, like I'm I currently still buy meat from the grocery store because of I'm not set up entirely to live off of only hunting right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know my situation is what it is. But would I love to get to the point to where the only meat that I eat is locally sourced or I hunted it myself? Yeah, I would love that because I hate supporting factory farming because it's terrible conditions. Like I don't care what argument anybody has for me. It is much more ethical for somebody to go out into the field and hunt somebody as long as it's done ethically
Hunt somebody?
or something deer, pig, yeah,
Yeah, I know.
but
I'm just joking.
uh
Much more
rather than
ethical.
having these animals live in this factory setting where they're confined to certain areas and can't actually live, at least these creatures lived their life and went through the natural circle of life in that aspect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like even and we can get into this topic a different time because we're already a little bit over. But
Oh
just
yeah,
the fact, yeah, I know, the fact that like the whole thing with factory farming and just unethical sources of meat that actually just affects the environment as well. It's actually better for the environment to raise it holistically or even hunt it. Just
yeah,
it's a lot better. I mean, obviously, when you're going on hunting, we're not talking about poaching. There's a difference between poaching and
yeah.
hunting.
Very clear. There's a difference between
Huge.
hunting and poaching. Even to extend that, there's a difference between hunting, poaching, and then trophy hunting.
Yes. And out of all those three, the worst one you can do
It's poach.
for conservation, exactly for conservation and the environment, is poach.
Yeah,
So,
because we'll get into this in episode 3 of me.
ooh, the third time you come over here. Yes. Yes.
but
I love it.
uh, but yeah, I don't remember the exact percentage, but most, and I'll say this now, we'll talk about it later when I actually do my research and have the numbers, but most of conservation funds come from hunters and gun owners buying ammo.
Yeah. And we're going to need to talk about that as well because that, I mean, it's something that's for the outdoors. And I mean, it might not play into 100% into mental health, but definitely outdoors. And I think it's fair game. But that will be for the third time you come on. We already have our topic, so
You heard
yeah,
it here.
we heard it here. You heard it now. That's the next topic. Hopefully, in a few episodes, we'll have you back on. But yeah, so we're a little bit over, and that's fine. I think the flow of conversation went really well. Any last thought that you want to talk about?
I mean, I'll just reiterate what I said before. Regardless of your financial stability right now, there are skills that you can learn, things that you can do, and skills that you can practice that don't need money and will save you in the long run.
Yep. And then I'll close with so there's already plenty of things to divide us in, media, entertainment, and everything. Let's not let situations like natural disasters be another one of those things. I think we should probably kind of like turn off the media every now and then and detoxify ourselves from all that. Social media, news, anything. Go out for, a brisk walk, go out for a run, go out for a hike, go out to fish, shoot bows, target practice with, hunting rifles or, any other sporting rifles. Anything to just kind of, go out, for crying out loud, even making a puzzle. And really kind of disconnect ourselves a little bit with technology. Not necessarily, a disconnect doesn't necessarily mean we can't reconnect. So definitely we do need to reconnect with how we used to do things beforehand. Like, I know I'm gonna beat this over and over again, but like using manual can opener versus an electric can opener, like we need to. I know I keep using that, but it's the obvious one.
It's a perfect example.
Yes, it's the perfect example. Like, just we do need a little bit of adversity and struggle, and if it's in the form of a manual can opener versus an electric can opener, at least we have something that in case your electricity goes out, you're good to go and you can eat some tuna.
Well said. Well said.
So yeah, let's keep that in mind. And try to fortify our chances of survival and fortify our chances to thrive and stay mentally healthy.
Yep, I agree with that.
All right, so that was it. That was a good discussion, and well, say goodbye, Garrett.
All right, bye. Thanks
Bye.
for having me on again. Enjoyed my time here.
Yeah, no, definitely. And we already have our topic for the next one, and you're going to be on it for sure. And also, like, you guys know where to find me, New Age Alchemist, all one word. Most social media, I'm going to build that up. I think right now it was just Instagram, but yeah. So let's keep that going. Let's keep that conversation going, and let's all be a little bit nicer to each other. All right, man.
All right. Have a good one.